in CNBC or any other place, is give employees dignity and voice. Allow them to reach their full potential.
As a CEO, my job is to remove barriers. It's not to come up with all the ideas. No one person's that smart.
Once upon a time, the boss gave orders and the workers carried them out. Sometimes managers interpreted them along the way. This top-down or hierarchical model of business organisation has changed dramatically in the last decade or so. It responds too slowly for today's fast-moving businesses. So what kind of organisational structure is now needed? And how does today's business leader help to shape it? The answers to these questions are provided by Professor Sandra Dawson, Director of the Judge Institute of Management Studies at Cambridge University. And the two chief executives we've just seen, Jack Welch, who was chairman and chief executive, transformed General Electric into one of the world's most admired companies, and Mike Bloomberg, founder of the fast-moving business information service, which bears his name. First, we asked Sandra Dawson what is the best management structure for businesses. Professor Dawson believes that structures are just tools or instruments to improve the business. She thinks that hierarchy or top-down management is not the right structure for businesses which are trying to encourage employees to use their own ideas, their initiative, in finding solutions. Employees now have the power or discretion to decide what they should do. She believes that the people at the top don't have all the answers. There is, she says, no monopoly of truth and right.
I don't think there is one best way of managing anything. You have to think very carefully about what's the nature of the task and how can that best be achieved. Structures are just tools to enable you to do your business better. The reason why there's a lot of change is because hierarchy is not in the main the best way for organising businesses that require a lot of initiative and a lot of discretion throughout the organisation. In other words, for businesses where you know there is no monopoly of truth and right and the right solution at the top.
We then asked Sandra Dawson what she thought the role of the business leader was in this new structure. She sees leaders as people who clearly show what the company stands for, displaying the values. They must decide what the company wants to do, giving a sense of direction. This is especially important in companies where there is distributed leadership, that is, where major decisions are taken at all levels throughout the company. And leaders have to look outside the company at its competitors and its customers, scanning what's going on. They should make sure the company knows what customers want, that it is tied in with its customers. They should also be aware of new technology and employ specialists to develop new ideas.
I think displaying the values of an organisation, not just by speaking them but by acting them, is critically important. I think giving a sense of direction is vital, because if you have more distributed leadership, if you have many people with discretion, you still need to have a common focus on what's the long-term direction of the organisation. So stressing the values, giving a great sense of direction, and also scanning what's going on outside, because people can become very much focused on the requirements of doing the job today, particularly in this very competitive world, and therefore knowing what's going on outside, making sure that you're tied in with customers, looking to the future of new technology, making sure you've got very good specialists working with you, with whom you can take ideas and develop those. That's what I think the leaders now need to be.
We then asked two CEOs the same question. What is the role of the business leader? Jack Welch says it's to give employees dignity and voice so that their ideas are listened to by management. Leaders should encourage employees to use their abilities to the full to reach their full potential.
The job of a leader, whether it be in CNBC or any other place, is give employees dignity and voice. Allow them to reach their full potential. They can't do that in a command and control superstructure. They can do that when you get all their trappings of management off their back.
Mike Bloomberg describes his objectives as CEO. 1, to remove barriers to communication. 2, to create a meritocracy where people with the greatest ability have the greatest rewards. And 3, to encourage the flow of information within and outside the organisation.
As a CEO, my job is to remove barriers. It's not to come up with all the ideas. No one person's that smart, and there's no reason to think that I am any smarter than anybody else. But my job is to make sure ideas get up to the top. My objective is, my responsibility is to make sure it's a meritocracy, that those that put in the time and do better get compensated better than everybody else. And so I try to remove things that would impede the flow of information. Nobody in our company has a private office. I don't have a private office. Why not me? Well, number one, I want the communications. And number two, it's very easy for me to say to you, you don't get one if I've given up mine. We don't have walls. We don't have conference rooms have glass walls, and a lot of places don't have doors on them. We encourage people to come in at the same floor. The employees' snack bar is right when you walk in the door. We'd like our customers to mix with our people. We encourage people to run in races together, have picnics together. Anything I can do to get different parts of the company to talk to each other. We don't have titles in our company. Titles are another one of those things that would keep people from talking, and I don't want those things.
How does an organisation have to change to respond to this new management style? Jack Welsh thinks you have to flatten the organisation. This means taking away the various levels that exist in hierarchical management structures. It's important, he says, to remove barriers or impediments that would stop people from learning new ways of doing things. Companies must also act quickly to introduce these changes.
The business manager is the leader of each of these businesses. So what we tried to do was flatten the organization, break down the vertical walls, so that an organization can learn. And an organization can be quick. If you believe in speed and you believe in learning, you've got to get all the impediments to those things out of the system. This is a game where you change all the time. You're always learning. You're always looking. We don't have all the answers by any means, but we have the most insatiable appetite to learn. It's in our culture. It is today the biggest change in our company. Finding what others are doing, teaching it, adapting it, and then driving it.
So today's business leader spends more time listening to people than giving them orders. Leaders have to look for opportunities to learn from others, to adapt ideas to their own organisation, and to introduce changes very quickly.